Last week, we talked about the exciting new partnership with Swissborg and Ultra called Agora. It's a way for Ultra's network to provide liquidity across as many games and apps in a fully decentralized on-chain way. If you didn't catch that episode, go watch it now. Richard and Louis from Agora are still with us, and this week we'll be covering the market potential for GameFi, DEXs and their liquidity pools, and NFT lending and its impact on gaming. Let's get to it. Can we talk about market potential for GameFi for a second? Because I think it's something that we've been tracking for years, and I personally think that it could scale in much the same way that gaming as a whole sector is scaled. And I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are on what the upper boundaries are for the GameFi market.
Sure. So, obviously, I guess what we can do is, look at the traditional gaming market as a kind of benchmark, right? And of course, the traditional gaming market is, around a couple hundred billion, say 200 billion, with, around 2 billion gamers. For sure, the benefits of the traditional gaming market moving to GameFi have really already been proven. Of course, there is a lot of things that need ironing out and improving, which is of course what Ultra and Agora are kind of working on solving. But I would actually say that the market could potentially be much higher than the traditional gaming market eventually. If you also look at like the motivations behind people participating in the traditional gaming market, it's focused on player experiences, right? Which is of course a very important thing, and that's going to have to improve in GameFi as well for it to really take off. But you also have other motivations for players to participate. You've kind of seen like there were millions of people in the Philippines that were playing Axie Infinity and making a living from it. So people are seeing that they're not only playing these games to for the gaming experience, but also for the the kind of wealth generation really that they can actually achieve. So it's going to open up, I think, the gaming sector to a lot more target groups, not only traditional gamers, but also those that are just looking to grow their wealth. Also investors who have been investing in other markets and want to kind of diversify. So obviously it's difficult to say how much higher it could go, but I would say it could reach higher than the traditional gaming market current state.
Well, you're talking about it in the context of money, like how much money is in that market. I was actually asking about the user. For many of those users, they just don't understand what the stuff is. For many of the users, they understand very well and they don't want it. So I'm thinking there that there's definitely like an upper ceiling for how many of those users we can bring into the GameFi market. And I'm curious, like what you think that upper bound actually is.
I think actually, again, a GameFi is not only what is currently very visible. A GameFi will be what I explained before, also stuff that is invisible. And so it would be very reasonable to believe that eventually everybody will touch GameFi, whether they want or whether they know they're touching GameFi. So when it comes to who is going to invest in tokens and so on, I think it's kind of akin to who likes to play free-to-play games and who likes to play premium games. Some people they say, I want to buy my game and then I don't want to spend anything anymore. And this kind of players are going to stay there, and there's nothing wrong about it. And we at Ultra, we will cater to them as well. There will be premium games. It will be free-to-play games. It will be play-to-earn. They will play and earn. You're going to have everything. But at the end of the day, I think sooner or later, everybody's going to touch it. And even the guy that's going to actually purchase his, premium game, like on Ultra, you're actually buying an NFT. So you're touching GameFi right there. And so eventually, potentially, these NFTs are going to be in his inventory. 1 day, 2 day, 1 year, and eventually we will tell him, hey, you know what, this asset, if you do that, you can rent it, and this is what we predict you're going to earn. Do you think this person is going to say no? Because like if you're explaining him and show him some stats, look, you have nothing to do with this helmet that you earned in that game that's been there forever. We understand you don't want to sell it, but maybe you can rent it. Here's what you're going to earn. And then there's maybe just a button, okay, and then boom, somebody somewhere in South Korea is playing now with your helmet. And so it all depends on kind of like how smooth we can deliver the experience. And this is kind of like one of the reasons why I was so excited to work with Swissborg, because if you look at what they're doing in their DNA, since day one, user experience and how smooth everything need to be is exactly the same philosophy we have at Ultra. Like we've both done in our own kind of like expertise and area of work. We've been through tremendous length to be able to achieve and deliver such type of experience. And so I believe with the corporation we have here, we have the same DNA, we have the same desire to make it, to provide the experience that doesn't require you to know, anything until you actually use it. And this is what's going to ultimately convert everybody, one way or another to a GameFi user.
So yeah, I guess basically the upper bounds are everyone, really.
Well, it's everyone with the caveat that we have to make it easy enough for everybody to actually use it.
Exactly, yeah, and that's why we're here.
So maybe we migrate over to kind of like the more tech aspect of what we've been talking about. There's two things that I'm actually really curious about. There's the DEX, because I think that the DEX is a big deal, and there's NFT lending. Let's start with the DEX. There's a part of it which you guys call the balancer that allows users to self-manage the liquidity in the pools. Can you talk about how that actually works?
Yeah, sure. So when we talk about balancer, actually, what we mean is that certain features of the DEX and the GameFi indexes actually as well have actually been inspired by balancer. Balancer is an automated market maker, right? And what it basically enables you to do is to provide pools with tokens that don't necessarily need to have price correlation. Right, so for example, you can have a pool with USDC and UOS. So this can obviously make it easy for users to swap their rewards in the DEX for stable coins, or if they're holding stable coins, then they can easily enter trades, swapping their stable coins for volatile currencies, for example. You're actually also able to create pools with custom token weights as well, and actually pools with multiple tokens. With Balancer, it's up to 16. So this of course makes it very flexible for LPs to create and also to choose the pools that are right for them, that they want to participate in and provide liquidity to. Enabling them as well to kind of experiment with different token combinations to kind of create the best pools that maximize their rewards. And this is the other thing as well, where you kind of have pools that can have multiple tokens. The more tokens that you have in a pool, the more trading pairs that can actually be facilitated by individual pools. So what this also means is that individual pools can actually potentially gain higher rewards with higher fees, via the kind of more opportunities for facilitating trades. So this is why we decided to be inspired really by Balancer for the DEX functionality, as it made sense to kind of take the best parts of what has already been done and mix it, of course, with the powerful technology that Ultra provides us.
Is any of that technology applicable to trading NFTs themselves?
Not really, no. So this is more around the decentralized exchange, which will be for exchanging fungible tokens. This is not for I'm not referring to trading NFTs right now.
Yeah, I realize that. I'm just curious whether the base technology, the way that it works, whether if you have a large set of NFTs, for example, that are correlated within a collection, and they have a price range, and whether there's another collection, and whether trades between collections could be facilitated by some market-making technology like this.
Yeah, no, it is a very good point, actually. And I mean, this is something that we'll be exploring, with the tech stack that we're looking at, and seeing if as well, these are kind of potential features that we could add in the future, right? But no, it definitely makes sense.
It would be sort of like a basket of assets, which would then be tokenized in the form of a token, and then it would very much look like a fund that owns, I don't know, real estate assets, except here it's not real estate. It would be maybe NFTs, and behind you could have a DAO that would decide whether they bring in this or that NFT as part of the basket. And so you would have the advantage, on the other hand, to sort of liquefy these assets, like making them more liquid, because you would basically instantly find a buyer if you have an automatic market maker trading that particular token. Yeah, it just unifies the liquidity and assets that are inside this basket. And I think the rating system that you guys are working on could be the basis, could be the first building block for that, because it would allow you to sort of like classify asset classes and value and risk involved, and maybe long-term, short-term value. It's maybe something that might be eventually usable for such type of things, but this is something that doesn't exist yet. But obviously the ability to liquefy, to turn something illiquid liquid has value, and there must be definitely interesting things to be done. And I think the fact that you have free transactions on chain might be actually a big added value for making this kind of stuff viable, especially if you think about potentially the oracles that would be behind it, and would need to constantly keep certain data on chain updated according to certain conditions. But definitely a super interesting area of research.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like you say, NFTs are very illiquid right now. So that this is something that we hope to achieve in the future, right? We will achieve in the future, right? Is to bring liquidity to NFTs. And we've already started to kind of explore, how we can create pools of NFTs, and how this would work from a technical perspective. Still in the early stages, but this is something that will be possible, and that we will look to bring in the future.
So let's talk about something that you guys actually are building, which is NFT lending. How will Agora incentivize Ultra's users to lend NFTs that they own into the Agora asset pool?
I guess like the whole concept, of course, behind NFT lending is to optimize the yield of NFTs that investors own, whether that is gaming guilds like Xborg, or whether it is other investors who own NFT assets. So of course for them, they're going to want to go to the platform that is able to actually bring them the highest yield. So I think like one aspect of this is the community that we're building, right? So we're placed very well in terms of cross community collaboration. So we're looking to really build a very strong and active game community of gamers, together with Xborg, with Ultra, and also leveraging the Swissborg community too. So there will be a lot of cross-community initiatives and collaboration that will be coming, quite soon. That's very exciting. So one side of it is having, the community of active gamers that are actually there and ready to, leverage those NFTs that are deposited into the Agora platform, and borrow them, and use them to participate in play-to-earn games and actually generate that yield. There's another aspect as well to cover with this, which is that we will actually also incentivize gamers with AGA rewards. So AGA is the native token of Agora. So this will actually make it possible for gamers to, earn higher yields via Agora. Therefore, of course, maximizing yields for the NFT owners, also for the gamers, and of course for partners such as Xborg and others that we will look to partner with in the future.
How do you think this will affect how play and earn or play to earn games will be designed?
So, I mean, I think this is, of course, going to create like a very big supply of gamers for play-to-earn games, as well as, of course, bringing liquidity to the NFT gaming assets. So I think what that's going to do is going to create a lot of competition between the developers who are actually developing play-to-earn games. And what I expect from that is that games will become much better quality. Of course, this is something that needs to happen because in order to transition, say, traditional gaming to, traditional gaming market to the GameFi market, you need to have at least a similar level of quality of the games to do that. So this is what's going to improve as there are more gamers who come, and the games are then having to compete with the supply of gamers. I also think that these games will have to create stronger economic models as well. Tokenomics that can actually be more sustainable and long term, because I think that that's something that there is some issues with right now.
Here, everything that Agora is building, and notably NFT lending will and overall just NFT lending in the gaming space will radically change, well, a few things. And first is scholarships and the way we reduce barriers to entry. Current gaming ecosystems, like gaming guilds, they buy assets and then they lend the assets to players, but there is lots of friction in that process. It's also adding an intermediary, which is the scholarship manager, and in the end, it's also hard for an asset owner to lend some of his assets. So with like an NFT lending protocol and be it like a gasless and without much fees, you're unlocking lots of liquidity for NFTs, and you're also expanding the potential of NFTs overall, because you're essentially adding more liquidity to the market, which is something that prevents the NFT market to skyrocket.
Yeah, I think there's also another aspect which is really interesting to note, is that the lending functionality of NFTs is once again something that everybody kind of reinvents. And so what we're doing at Ultra is that we're bringing different actors who have the desire to provide lending functionality, and we organize workshops around it, so that we discuss, okay, so what are your needs, and how will it really be integrated in your service? And with everybody's feedback, we can then kind of like brainstorm together how lending would work. And then this lending functionality will be 100% part of the NFT standard, which means that once you integrate it, then one game can use it, another game can use it, another game can use it. But the person that integrates these NFT, such as Swissborg, as part of a tool, as part of an interface, they don't need to support 10 different standards. They will be guaranteed that 100% of all NFTs ever made on Ultra are compatible with their application, with a single integration. And so this is another area of collaboration, both with Swissborg and Xborg and some other external parties who are planning to rely on lending. And so this is kind of like where it gets interesting because of the structure of Ultra's NFT standard, which is capable of growing over time. That, okay, we got the NFT that's working today, but there's no lending functionality burned in. Like, you can do it, you can do your own smart contract, but we think it's so standard it's so important that we want to put this as part of the NFT standard, so that when you create your NFT, potentially you can even decide whether you want this NFT to be lendable or not. And I think while this might sound surprising, again, keep in mind that what NFTs are today is kind of like the Wild West. And for many big companies that actually want to use these NFTs, they're not necessarily legally even allowed to use them. So for instance, you could have a big company somewhere, I don't know, Sony, that has the rights to sell a certain movie, but they don't have the right maybe to rent this movie. So suddenly they can't tokenize the movie, because tokenizing would mean that automatically this asset can be rented and can be sold. And so if you give them the ability at the protocol level, at the standard level, to say, I authorize this asset to be traded, I authorize it to be sold, but I don't authorize to lend it, or I authorize to lend it, then suddenly there's an implicit acceptation, so that we, on the interface level, we can say, hey, the creator allow you to lend it, and here's the button, and here's the functionality. And so this is something that will help us operate within the larger market, the traditional market, because the traditional market is very much regulated. The intellectual properties are a very, very complex topic. Like, you can have the rights for a movie, but not the series, and you can, sell moving pictures, but not, fixed pictures. He got this, he got that. You have a region like, oh, you can sell everywhere, but not China, because in China we've got another distributor. It's very, very complex. And so what we're trying to do with Ultra's NFT standard is to listen to the needs of, leaders like Swissborg, and find out a solution which we know on, for example, the big game publisher side they want, and then on their need, where for the games, for example, GameFi and so on, what they need, and we can find together something that works, and something that at the end of the day will allow us to increase the size of the NFT market, because now we're not just doing some NFTs by some companies somewhere, but we will be able to do all kinds of NFTs by major companies that would otherwise not be able to tokenize certain types of assets.
Amazing discussion, guys. I really appreciated your time today. I think that our community is going to be very excited by the both potential and realization of this partnership.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks. That was great.
Thank you, Remy. Thank you, everybody. And looking forward to seeing you around.